Alright, guys, well, welcome to the fourth installment of the Talk is Deep show. I'm Peter.
I'm Chris.
And you may have noticed we're missing a few people, but that's okay because we're talking about some deep, nerdy shit.
Yeah, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about why you guys don't vote.
And when we mean you guys, we mean the 7 Asian people in particular that watch the show, or in general, why you guys don't vote. And if you guys aren't Asian,
thank you for watching. We value your support. Please comment, like, and subscribe down below. Thank you.
we value your diversity, and hopefully you do get to learn a new perspective about voting and why Asian people don't vote in general as well.
Yeah, because I believe that the Asian American voice in politics is very underrepresented for many reasons.
So why do you think that like Asian people in general just don't vote, or like how do you know that like Asian people in general don't vote?
Oh, I know they don't vote. Let's pull up the stats. First off, there is on average a 10 to 20% gap between the average white voter turnout and the average Asian American voter turnout, which is in a country where average voter turnout in general is only 60%, is massive. Now, especially in the younger community, the voter turnout for younger voters in general is low as well. For millennials, the average voter turnout is 42%, while for Gen Z, you guys, and I guess I am too, and I don't even know, a little bit in the middle. In between, the average voter turnout is 30%. So combine the fact that you guys are probably young, probably Asian, that means you probably don't vote.
Yeah, and I guess, like, in your household in particular, like, why do you think people don't talk about politics? Or, like, why do they just choose to stay away from politics in general?
Well, in the East Asian households, there's kind of a stigma around politics. I believe it stems from the fact that most of our family members are, at least my family, are recent immigrants, and that they have a strong desire not to rock the boat. Both because they're not confrontational by nature, as well as just having a strong desire to focus on themselves and improving the lives for their children and their community, the Asian American community, which obviously has a lot of problems to it. It's great to focus and improve your community, but focusing only on ourselves makes it easy to lose sight of the bigger picture, especially in the national politics as a whole.
Yeah, and I always feel like, for me, it was something we never talked about in our house, just because we know, like, as a kid of an immigrant, they always think, like, oh, yeah, we don't want to talk out because we don't know what will happen. Like, we're not confrontational in general, so we always just let things go the way that they are, and we don't want to worry about something else that is on our plate. But I also think it's, like, interesting. Like, do you think, in general, like, Asian people are, like, the target of, like, political advertisements at all? Or, like, people, like, do they care about the Asian community at all?
In general, no. It's interesting to look at. I was reading an article earlier today about how most Asian Americans live in the coasts, in particular urban areas, which usually skew hard Democrat either way. So politicians on both sides of the aisle obviously have done the calculations and decided that it's not worth trying to court Asian voters as much and to engage them as much, since the places where Asians typically live, since you don't see many Asians in like Kansas or like Kentucky, the Asians in coastal urban city areas are in places where it's already safe Democrat. There's not much to gain, since Asians only make up 5% of the national population, although we are the fastest growing demographic. Asians make up a small part of the country, and politicians have decided that we aren't worth engaging as much, at least on the national level.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also so crazy that they say things like, oh my god, look at how many black votes I got. Look how many of like the Hispanic and Latino community like support me, but you never hear anything about the Asians. Like, even though we are a decent amount of people within our country, they just like never talk about that at all. I always think of that as interesting, and I feel like if people are like, oh yeah, we got some Asian people to vote for us, we got them talking about us, I think that would be like cool too.
Yeah, I mean, we do have one candidate running. One of us.
One of our own.
Yo boy Yang. Yang gang.
But yeah, I think that like seeing someone like represent us, like especially it's like the Crazy Rich Asians side of politics, like seeing someone represent us, I think it's really cool, and I think the way he presents himself is so like chill. I think that every other candidate is always like smack talking another candidates, like this person is trash, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. But I think personally Andrew Yang, he just like is like, yo, I'm just trying to give people $1,000 stipend. And he like is so natural, and like he goes on like podcasts and like other cultural things and just says it how it is, and I think that's why people respect him too.
It really does help that he is only, I think, like 20, 30 years older than the typical like young Asian American. So like, I don't know about you guys, but I was watching the last political debate in New Hampshire, and watching Andrew Yang on a stage full of older 50, 60, 70-year-old white people was a breath of fresh air. Considering he's the last minority, too, on the debate stage.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, so great to see. And even though I feel like we know that he won't win.
He's not going to win.
I think he brings up, like, good conversational pieces, too. And I think that's, like, how you start discussion. And, like, even though you are supporting someone you know, like, may not get the majority of the votes, you are saying, like, oh, I believe in what he says. I believe what he stands for. And I think that's, like, a great thing, too.
Yeah, he's changing the national discourse, which is huge, as well as serving as a role model for young Asian Americans. And I think he has done a great service to getting Asian Americans more engaged in politics.
Yeah, and I guess, like, since we are talking about how Asians aren't involved in politics as much, how do you think, like, we can improve engagement in general?
Well, it's pretty simple. You gotta organize. You have to, first off, just be informed. I noticed, like, with a lot of my friends and peers, they don't really pay attention to, like, news articles or specifics about politics and stuff, especially regarding, like, local and state issues. So I think just doing a little bit of research. You don't have to go crazy here and be, like, encyclopedia of, like, political knowledge and, like, anything crazy like that. But just keeping yourself aware, reading the news once in a while, and knowing what the issues are and forming an opinion of your own is a great first step.
Yeah, and I also think if you are doing your research, understanding what news sources are skewed, because we know Fox News is skewed on one side, CNN as well, but I think that watching both sides, even though you may not want to, it's a great way to see how both ways, or both sides, how they think of certain issues as well and how they view certain people.
There is value to that. And also be aware of, like, the biases in the news articles you choose, because nothing's going to be 100%, like, impartial and completely unbiased and fair. There's always going to be a slight skew in how people report things. Just knowing the biases that you have, as well as what the news source you're using, is a great first step too.
Yeah, and I feel like we as not only Asian Americans, but we as young people, we need to be more comfortable with talking about politics. I know something that we mentioned before is that, like, in our families, we did not talk about politics because I'm pretty sure it would have been a total shit show. Like, Asian adults in general, very, very conservative, and I feel like the youth in general were more liberal. But I think, like, it's good to have conversations about it, but also realize when you are having these conversations, do not force your views on people. Don't be like,
yeah,
this is what I think about gay rights. This is what I think.
You're gonna vote for Sanders and you're gonna like it.
But yeah, like, have conversations, agree to disagree, and also just, like, respect what they say, because any conversation is good, and even though your mind may not change about something, it may change your perspective, per se, or, like, how you vote, or how you choose to, like, view other candidates as well. And I think, like, that is such one of the easiest ways to be involved in politics.
You don't have to go out and donate, volunteer, or run for office, even though all three would be great. But just by having an opinion of your own and talking about it with other people in a respectful manner would go wonders for improving engagement. And it would help to voice the Asian American viewpoint, especially in, like, today's political climate.
Yeah, so I know, like, especially for me, I'm not, like, a super political person, but I do like to talk about, like, the issues going on, the issues I care about. So I guess, like, what issues do you care about, Peter?
Well, for me, I'm mostly concerned about the economy, specifically the increasing income disparity between wealthiest people in America and the poorest people in America. And even, in particular, differences between and inequities between the different ethnic groups who have traditionally been shut out of many of the opportunities that white rich Americans have had.
Yeah, and then I guess for me, I think climate change, which is real. By the way, if y'all don't know, I think, like, that's such a big thing, and people think, like, oh, climate change, all I'm thinking about are, like, the polar ice caps, but, like, climate change is so affected by big corporations. People should know that, and, like, you should, or I feel as if that's an issue that we should care more about, because I feel like a lot of people, they only care about making money, and, like, the environment doesn't matter. Like, it's too late. Whatever. But I feel like that is something I care about. Student loans, especially people our age. I feel as if student loans have been going through the roof, and our parents were like,
we're getting fucked.
And our parents were like, it only cost 37 cents to go to college back in our day. And then we're like, we have to
37,000 a semester, you said?
For one textbook. But I think, like, those are the things that, like, it's crazy because, like, student debt, we have to go to college
to get a job. Most well-paying jobs.
But how are we able to get that when we don't have the necessary
money.
funds to do it?
And you know what's interesting? Way back, I was reading an article.
Peter reads a lot.
Unfortunately. More like skim, but it was looking at the college graduation rates for different ethnic groups within the Asian American community. And I thought it was interesting that if you look at the breakdown, there is huge differences between what people consider the small minority, like Asians, and, like, the reality. Since I forgot the exact numbers, but the Southeast Asians in particular had a very low college graduation rate, and even high school graduation rate compared to, like, people from more traditional Eastern Asian countries, which I think is obviously something that's overlooked in politics because nobody talks about Asian Americans in general.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, I personally didn't know that until literally 2 seconds ago when you said it. So I think, like, those are things that we should, like, bring attention to, and we should definitely have conversations about, because if things like that are happening, who knows what else.
Yeah.
And
the devil's in the details, and sorry for cutting it off.
Yeah. And I guess, like, for you, how do you stay engaged as well? Like, I know that personally for me, I just talk to people about it. I go on Facebook Messenger and be like, dang, this is what happened with Yang, Bernie, oh my god. But, like, retweet, send screenshots. But I know that you're more of, like, an engaged person. So how do you personally stay engaged in politics?
Well, I've done a lot. I've donated to political campaigns, obviously voting is one, in primary elections and local state elections, which happen usually every year, so something to look forward to in November.
And we need to focus on it this November too.
In particular, yeah. But I've also volunteered with political campaigns. Well, not in a while. Back in high school when you had to graduate civic. But it's very interesting to like see the inside of politics, kind of, because at home for most people, myself sometimes, like it feels like politics is like a world away. Like these people are larger than life. Like you're like practically like movie stars or something. Something so abstract. But working in a political campaign, regardless of which party you're into, you get to see behind the curtain and you get to meet these people and realize they're just people too. And if they can make an impact, you can make an impact.
Yeah, I think that's great. Anyways, Peter 2040. Peter 2040.
No.
But yeah, I think you don't have to go in depth of like what Peter's like. Yeah. Peter's involvement, like we said before, doing small things. Peter definitely is more involved than the normal citizen per se. But yeah, talk about politics, stay informed, make sure you know your biases. I think that's a big one. Donate, vote, I think.
Yeah.
And make time to vote. I think like that's an excuse that people use so much. Like, I don't have time to vote.
To be fair though, it's pretty hard for like younger people to vote since they don't have like, most of them don't have like PTO or like, an easy way, like a way to like, sorry.
That's cool.
They don't have an easy way to block out time to vote because they're getting too busy getting fucked by student loans and the economy.
But yeah, what about like absentee ballots and stuff like that?
So it depends on where you live. I know in Fairfax and Virginia, I believe in general, you have to have a valid reason to vote absentee. In particular, like if you're on a business trip, like I voted absentee last election 2019 because I was at a business trip. But some states let you vote through ballots. I believe California is one of those.
Okay.
Which is great since, you can vote months in advance, or not months, weeks in advance, mail in your vote, and, guarantee that your vote will be counted.
Okay, sounds good. And I know our deadline, or by the time this is posted, it would have already passed. But in March, I think that's like something that matters, especially for Virginia.
Yeah, because if you guys don't know, Virginia's primary election is March. I forgot the exact date.
March 3rd. Don't quote that. But yeah, definitely make sure that you vote. Every vote matters.
Yeah, especially in a primary election, because that's when you have the most say in what policies and what issues are going to be the forefront, because you have to pick who represents your party. And
then when it comes down to their two, at the end, you have to choose the lesser of two evils if that's how you view it. But yeah, definitely, we hope this was informative.
Yeah, let us know if you think this is something that, you think we should talk about more as a podcast. Obviously, you guys should talk about it more at home.
Yeah, and let us know what issues matter to you the most. Like, for us, we talked about climate change, student loans, human rights, the economy, stuff like that. Let us know in the comments below maybe what issues you care about, and also maybe who you're also voting for. We're not... Maybe not that. Okay, cut that out. But, or who you think... Never mind. Cut that out too. What matters to you the most? Yeah. Let us know down below after you commented, and subscribed. Because we didn't get monetized. All right. See you guys next week. Bye. See ya.